All right, Hosea 4, we're in verse 17. Hosea 4:17. Ephraim is joined to idols, let him alone. When God gives up on a nation or a person and allows him to follow his own instinct, it's devastation. We find in Romans, he says this, wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts. He didn't have to put it in there, it was already there. To dishonor their own bodies between themselves. There comes a point sometimes where God says, the line has been crossed, I'm done. You just have at it. And that's a dangerous spot to be in. The modern man, the modern age that we're in, is looking for his own will to be fulfilled rather than God's. A man's main job, a Christian's main job is this, to surrender his will. It has nothing to do with what I want. God, what do you want? I'll move at your direction. Now that's easy to say. It's not easy to practice. I understand that. Look at Psalm chapter 2. This is a perfect summation of the whole world we're living in right now. They may not understand it, but if you've got your spiritual eyes on, you can understand it. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? We got raging on every continent. There's something going on everywhere. I was talking to Toby about it today. I think what's going on right now is the devil is stirring the pot. He knows that he's soon to arrive. Man doesn't have a clue what's going on. Man spins out theories of what he thinks is going to happen and his own prognosis of what's going to happen. Man doesn't know. And even the best plans man has have rarely come to fruition. It's the real problem is this: righteousness versus wickedness. It always has been. And wickedness, when it doesn't get its way, does this, it rages. I mean, both in just temper tantrum and in pure violence. Verse 2, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. So if you're going to be on God's side, just get ready. The world's not going to be happy. Let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. Now, they say, let us break their bands asunder. That is, a Christian should be known by having some constraints. Certain things a Christian will not do. A certain limitation is good for you. We talked about it one week, I can't remember where it was, where David says that he never disappointed his son at any time. He didn't never say, hey, stop that. Why'd you do that? What's wrong with you? Okay, sometimes we need that. We need somebody to come in and say, hey, here's a rule. You can't do this. You must do that. And then learn to do it. But the world we're living in right now, everybody's right, which means nobody's right. If there is no definitive answer, you can or you can't, then we've got anarchy. And that's where the world's headed. Look at 1 Kings 12. 1 Kings 12. Here's why God has abandoned Israel. Now, it's taken him a while to come to this decision. But here's where it started. 1 Kings 12, verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel. Wonder who he's getting that from. And made 2 calves of gold, and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt. Even though he's the one who just made the 2 calves. But he said, these brought you up out of Egypt. He wasn't around when they came out of Egypt.
Shouldn't they have remembered that?
Oh, they should have. And really, I mean, they should know their history. We're not requiring them to memorize, the Assyrian history or the pagan history. They should have known their own history. Yeah, it would have been clear. God's saying here in Hosea, leave them alone. You know what that means? Don't witness to them. Don't preach to them. Don't pray for them. There will be times that God says this, rarely, but there are times. I've had at least one, maybe two people I can think of off the top of my head that God has told me, do not pray for that person. Do not. Prayed for him for a while and he says, no more. He does this from time to time. For Ephraim, he says, let him alone. I'm done. You be done too. Find it in two places that are very interesting. Jeremiah chapter 11. Jeremiah 11 verse 14. And if you can remember that reference, that'll actually give you the next reference. Jeremiah 11 verse 14. He says, therefore, pray not thou for this people, neither lift up a cry or prayer for them, for I will not hear them in the time that they cry unto me for their trouble. Whew. That's God saying, I'm done. There's no remedy. That's a scary thought. Now you see that reference. It's Jeremiah 11 verse 14. Just flip it around. Jeremiah 14 verse 11. Jeremiah 14:11. Then said the Lord unto me, pray not for this people, for their good. Ooh. When they fast, I will not hear their cry. And when they offer burnt offerings and oblation, I will not accept them. But I will consume them by the sword, and by famine, and by pestilence. Whew. He's in a destroying mood, and he can get that way. In 1 John 5, the Bible tells us, 1 John 5:16, if any man see his brother sin a sin which is not unto death, he shall ask, and he shall give him life for them that is, and he shall give him life for them that sin not unto death. That's a tongue twister. There is a sin unto death. I do not say that he shall pray for it. Now, I don't believe, I know everybody's got their own opinion. You and God go figure this out, but I'll tell you mine. I don't believe you can commit that sin. In this age, the sin unto death is refusing to accept his son, because he'll forgive you for any sin. His blood is powerful enough to cover anything except stubborn unbelief. That one he won't cover. So I say in this age, that's the only one. But there's coming an age where you could commit a sin unto death. What is it? The mark of the beast. He's already told us plainly, you take the mark, I destroy you. There's no hope. You'll spend eternity with the beast. And so that is truly a sin unto death. He says, let Ephraim alone. Just let him do whatever he wants to do. That's a good reason to have good friends, because a good friend will keep you from getting to the point where God says, I'm done with you. Now it could be this. Ephraim's buddied up with the world so much that he's had no restraint. As far as he's concerned, he's just like everybody else. But not to God. And God said enough's enough. If he had been buddied up with the other side of the river, the right side of Israel, they wouldn't put up with that nonsense. And they'd have told him, no, you can't go worship any old god. We've got one God. And then maybe he would have slowed his destruction process down. In 1 Corinthians 5, I'll show you where this hits in our age. 1 Corinthians 5, verse 5. Paul says there's immorality going on in the church, and nobody's saying anything about it, so I'll fix it by letter, and when I get there, I'll check it out. Paul could be pretty harsh. He says right here, here's what you're going to do. Get together the next time y'all meet. He says, verse 5, to deliver such an one unto Satan for the destruction of the flesh, that the spirit may be saved in the day of the Lord Jesus. So the point is not just smash them, send them to hell. No, don't do that. You want them to get saved if they're not saved. Christians, I know, I've heard, who was it? lately it's, I guess Lindsey Graham just came on saying he wanted somebody to assassinate Putin. Okay. I understand the strategic thought process behind that. However, he's going to he's going straight to hell. Okay, how about we pray he gets saved and change his attitude? Wouldn't that be better? I don't care who it is, a Christian who's looking at things from God's point of view doesn't want anybody, no matter how wicked they are, to stay in their wickedness and go to hell. I'll tell you, I think where this began and infected the Christians is this. The word hell has been used to describe things that are nowhere near like hell. The big one, and this one is probably pretty close, but I don't even like this. I just saw a picture of it. A Vietnam guy with his helmet on, and it said on his helmet band, "War is hell." No, it's not. If you die in that war, you'll wake up and find out what real hell is, and you'll wish for war any day. Hell is real. And these people don't understand it. Now in our verse here, he's not asking for the man to go to hell. He's asking for the destruction of the flesh so that he wakes up. Now, Paul is telling us here in our verse that this person was saved. He says the spirit's going to be fine. I just want the flesh to wake him up and be destroyed. And we're going to, I hate to say it this, no I don't. It's cruel to say it this way, but I don't mean any cruelty of my own in it. What he's doing here is he's giving a devil casting in ceremony. Not a casting the devil out. Here they're casting the devil in. They're saying turn the man over to the devil. Let God remove his restraint so that corruption happens fast. And maybe that'll wake him up. And it does. If you read in the next book, in 2 Corinthians, he says restore him. Bring him back. He's repented and you don't want him to be overcome of much sorrow. Okay, so it worked. Maybe that ought to go on more nowadays. Hosea 4 verse 18. Hosea 4 verse 18. He says, their drink is sour. They have committed whoredom continually. Her rulers with shame do love. Give ye. We're going to raise the income tax. Give ye. And it's always a tax the people into oblivion. I noticed that, right now with all the mess we got going on in the world, our gas is shooting through the roof for no reason. I mean, no good reason. But I listen to all kinds of stuff, and I don't just listen to stuff that I agree with. I just listen to all of it. And there's a blogger in Russia who's learning English, and he practiced his English on his YouTube channel just to make sure he's getting his English. He's learning English from watching old American movies, and he does a good job. But this time he was practicing his English going around town showing the gas prices. And he would do the conversion from liter to gallon and, all the math. Right now, what Russia is paying for gas has gone up significantly. They're now paying almost $2 a gallon. Who are we hurting here? That's the world. The rulers all love, come give me something. I got to get something out of this. There it is, give ye. Now, I'm just being mean tonight, but most churches, that's the message you hear too. It shouldn't be the message you hear. So that's a bad crowd to be in. An Ephraim crowd. I don't want to be part of that crowd. Look at it in Isaiah 1. Isaiah 1 verse 22. I have a weird taste bud. I don't like anything watered down. I like orange juice, fresh squeezed from the orange. I like the pulp in there. I like it strong. I don't like it watered down. Now, I know a lot of people do. I just don't. My mom drinks like apple juice, and it looks like water with just a tiny little tint in it. It's like, how can you? To me, that just doesn't taste right. That's what God's saying in this verse. We're on the same page. Isaiah 1, verse 22. Thy silver has become dross, thy wine is mixed with water. Watered down grape juice doesn't taste good. Not if you're expecting grape juice. Now they've got it. Now the kids drink all these fake healthy drinks. You put this powder stuff in your water bottle and it flavors it, and it's supposed to me, I tried it once. Once was enough. It feels like there's supposed to be some flavor in there, but they couldn't find it. It's just not right. Verse 23, thy princes are rebellious and companions of thieves. Notice he puts those two right together. Rebellion and a bad company. You can tell where you're headed. Take note, take stock of yourself from time to time. Who are my friends? Who is it that I hang out with? What is their relationship to God? How does God view them? Because that's how God views my companions. He says here, they're companions of thieves. Everyone loveth gifts and followeth after rewards. They judge not the fatherless, neither doth the cause of the widow come unto them. Now these are the rulers. These are the people that are supposed to be executing handouts. Now this would be in Israel. The fatherless and the widows had certain rights, and they were to be cared for. Somebody's supposed to come in there and determine, okay, you have a living relative, they should help you. And that's the way it went. And if you had no living relative, then they gave you got on the government dole. That's welfare. That's where our welfare system comes from. There's a good welfare. I'm not against welfare. I'm against people getting it that shouldn't have it, because that's a handout. I'm not good with handouts. Jeremiah 2. Jeremiah 2, verse 21. God speaking to the nation of Israel. Yet I had planted thee a noble vine, holy, a right seed. How art thou turned unto the degenerate plant of a strange vine unto me? He said, y'all worked a miracle in reverse. I planted a good seed. What popped out of the ground was a degenerate plant. Wow. They were converted to the devil. That's what they did. They started following him. Verse 22. For though thou wash thee with niter and make thee and take thee much soap, yet thine iniquity is marked before me, saith the Lord God. We don't want God to say that. He could mark all of our iniquities. Well, thankfully, if you get them washed in the blood of Jesus Christ, they'll be gone. He can't see them. But you got to ask and get them washed away. I'm glad I live in my dispensation. This dispensation, he could choose when he would look at their sin and when he would not. They didn't have anything that would permanently remove it. That's scary. He says in Hosea, he said, her rulers with shame do love give ye. Now, I take that two ways, the shame. They should be ashamed to say that, and they're not. And they use shame in order to get money. They guilt people into giving. When I was in Memphis for that funeral, my son-in-law, not really a son-in-law, my daughter's boyfriend, went to a church, which was good. I was excited about that. Well, the main thing he remembers from the service was at the end of the service, get this, I don't know where they got this title out of the Bible. Executive pastor. What does that mean? The money man comes to the pulpit and tells them all, you know, we were barely in the black last year, and if all of y'all had been giving your tithes and offerings like we should have. Okay, that's trying to do this thing here with shame. He's trying to shame them into giving. Okay, that's just wicked. Exodus 23. Exodus 23, verse 8. Usually this is the way it happens in most countries. Most countries are run on a wicked system of you've got to pay a racket protection. You wanted to get, I remember going down to Mexico, and it was just taken for granted you were going to pay off the border guard when you walked through. You had to pay them something, or they could delay your day. Make you sit in a room all day long for no reason. That's how they made their tips. Other countries don't get tips. They get bribes. He says here, Exodus 23, verse 8, "Thou shalt take no gift, for the gift blindeth the wise and perverteth the words of the righteous." That's a fact. A judge should not be taking bribes. He shouldn't be making money on the stock market while he's voting for or against it. Okay, I don't know why they've not done this. I got to get back to preaching, but I don't know why they've not done this. They need to go after all the congressmen that are voting for bills that also have stock market options in these same companies. Why are they not doing that? I mean, that's insider trading if I ever heard of it.
Because Nancy Pelosi
Yeah.
is the top person on that list.
Yeah.
That's why she's not approved that one.
Well, I think it's probably Republicans on it too.
Yeah.
It's both sides.
It's on-
And they won't police themselves. The Bible set it up here from the beginning. If you're going to be in a position of judging others and in a ruling class, he says, don't accept gifts. It'll pervert your judgment. You've got to give judgment. This is right, this is wrong. You owe this person this. He says, we don't want to make this corrupt. Therefore, don't take a gift. Deuteronomy 16. Deuteronomy 16, verse 19. Thou shalt not wrest judgment, that is, twist it. Turn it into something it's not supposed to be. Thou shalt not respect persons, neither take a gift. For a gift doth blind the eyes of the wise, and pervert the words of the righteous. Almost the same thing. He's gone into detail about it here. Now, it's not that you can't accept a gift. I mean, when somebody gives you a gift, you know whether or not it's supposed to be a bribe. Okay, here it's obvious. The intent of the gift was to bribe. It wasn't so much a gift. It was couched as a gift. It was a payoff. They were paying for something specific. And this world's full of it right now. 1 Samuel 8. 1 Samuel 8, verse 1. This is a sad state of affairs here. Samuel was probably the greatest judge Israel had, but his children were not. 1 Samuel 8, verse 1. And it came to pass when Samuel was old that he made his sons judges over Israel. That should have been good. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, that's money, and took bribes, gifts, and perverted judgment. They were the poster children for the very thing God had said from the beginning, judges in Israel cannot do. And they did it. Now, it's a shame that that's what they turned into, but I think it's great that God puts no blame on Samuel for this. Samuel starts getting mealy-mouthed about it, and woe is me, and God says, no, quit your crying. They've not rejected you. They've rejected me. Everybody has a free will, and Good raising or bad raising doesn't go into the till. God's going to make a person accountable to him, regardless of how good you had it or how bad you had it. Here, these boys had it pretty good. Their dad had given them a great example, and they went after the filthy lucre. Proverbs 30. Proverbs 30, verse 15. I don't know that I've ever seen one of these things. The horse leech. Now, I've heard of leeches. I don't think I've ever seen a leech in real life. I've seen slugs. I can't stand a slug, but
Oh, I've seen leeches. They're ugly.
yeah, it doesn't sound real good. The horse leech. I wouldn't want to be identified as a horse leech. Hath 2 daughters, crying, give, give. There are 3 things that are never satisfied, yea, 4 things that say not it is enough. Okay, that's that perpetual can never have enough. That's most rich people are never satisfied because they've got to make more. They got to have more money and more and more. I'm not saying that you can't keep making money. That's a good thing, but it should be a joy to you. It shouldn't be a drag. I mean, it should be a blessing, right? Okay, well, that should make you happy. But it seems like the more rich a person is, the more miserable they are. I don't know why that is. Give, give. Micah chapter 3. Micah 3, verse 11. Micah 3:11. The heads thereof judge for reward, and the priests thereof teach for hire, and the prophets thereof divine for money. Whew. You go down to the church house and they're doing it for money. And they'll give you the speech you want, so you'll give them something in return. We went to, where did we go? We went to eat that buffet, all-you-can-eat buffet. What's that place called? Golden Corral with Mr. Herbert today. And I heard somebody behind me, a black young man came in and said, why weren't y'all in church today? And the lady said, why weren't you in church? And he said, well, I came in and gave my tithe and left. Isn't that something? They think they've paid God some due. And here, he's trying to get them to stay. I'll say exactly what you want. I'll be a motivational speaker for you, and you can pay me for it. And that's what a lot of churches have become. He says, yet will they lean upon the Lord and say, is not the Lord among us? None evil can come upon us. It's a lucky rabbit's foot. I've gave my money, therefore I'm protected. The standard line is you can't outgive God. And so maybe I'm just one with a weird mind, but that always sounded to me like, okay, I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to give this much because he's going to give me more. And then I'm going to work this system. That's a wicked heart. God doesn't honor a wicked heart. Now, a gift that's genuine, God is just like he's always said in his word. He will not accept a gift as a bribe. That's a fact. If you give God a gift, I've found this to be true. He never allows you to give it to him as a gift. He always overpays you for whatever you've given him. I don't know. I think it lines up with what he said. He's a judge. He's the judge of all the earth. And he doesn't accept gifts or it would look like a bribe. Therefore, he overpays you in some area of life. Now, I'm not saying it's always money. A lot of times it's not. Being healthy is worth a whole lot. Let's see, we probably better stop it there. We'll pick up next week at Hosea 4:19.